Hello and welcome back to the Baggies Podcast YouTube channel, where of course we're giving you all the latest news, views and opinions on all things Albion. We are back again today with another video here on the channel. We're going to be doing our first ever loan watch here on the Baggies Podcast YouTube channel. We're going to be talking Kevin Castro, who's just returned from his loan spell at Notts County. We're going to be hearing from Ollie King, the Notts County writer for the Nottingham Post, about him, where he's going to be talking in depth about Kevin Castro's loan spell, what we can expect from him now he's returned to Albion. It'll be interesting to hear from him and get a bit of an insight into how the Portuguese attacking midfielder has been playing whilst in Nottingham. But before we crack on, make sure you subscribe, comment your thoughts on Kevin Castro down below. Should he be given that chance in the first team now he's returning from his loan spell? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe, but let's crack on. Let's go and see what Ollie has to say about Kevin Castro. As said in the introduction to this video, I am joined by Notts County correspondent for the Nottingham Post, Ollie King. First of all, Ollie, how's it going? Welcome to the show.
I'm good, mate. Thank you for having me on. It's been a good couple of months covering the Magpies doing so well. I'm glad to be on. So thank you for having me again.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to have you, mate. First of all, just to get a bit of a picture as to how things have been so far this season for the Magpies. How's it been? Because they seem to be really flying high in the National League at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's been a really good start to the season so far. Playoff heartache last year. So a change of manager was needed. Ian Birchland departed for Forest Green Rovers, and Luke Williams came in, previous experience at Swindon, and then mainly assistant roles. So this is one of his first managerial roles, and since he's come in at Meadow Lane, he's excelled. They're sitting top of the league at the minute. Granted, Wrexham have got 2 games in hand and are 3 points behind. But I think apart from that, it's been a really good season. It's been, they're playing their possession brand of football that's been, instilled by the philosophy of Williams. And it's really pleasing on the eye. Obviously, there's no getting away from the fact that Macaulay Langstaff has been grabbing most of the headlines since he's moved from Gateshead in the summer. I think 22 goals in 26 games is a ridiculous return, and has obviously granted a lot of interest in him during the window, this January transfer window, which was to be expected. But Luke Williams has insisted that only a simply sensational offer could potentially prize him away from the club. It's been a really, really good season, and hopefully that ends with a promotion, because it's been 4 years now since they've been in the Football League. And I think a club of that size, that following, that magnitude, deserves to be in there. But you don't get into the EFL without, just deserving to be there. You have to win those games. You have to win the title. You have to go through the playoffs. And it just proves with some of the sides that are in the league now how difficult it is to get out of that league, obviously with 2 up and 2 down.
Yeah, I mean, there's we played Chesterfield the other day in the FA Cup, so I'm sure you'll have seen, and they were such a good side. I mean, I know they're slightly below Notts County and Wrexham, but they were such a good side. I mean, there's such a as you said, a sort of breadth of quality in the National League at the moment. But see, last night you kind of mentioned it to me off air that they played out a 1-1 draw with Boreham Wood. How did you find that game, and what did you make of it?
I think the main takeaway from me was a feeling of disappointment, which is, extraordinary to think, because of, the way that which Luke Williams' side have played this year. To come away from a game disappointed at drawing against a side that, were in the playoffs last year. It's a weird feeling to have, I've got to be honest. But I think last night was just a combination of lack of intensity, potential, team selection maybe having an effect on the game. But there's still a lot of football to be played. I think Wrexham have got 21 games left. Chesterfield have got 23.
Yeah.
And the focus has been on Notts County and Wrexham because of the levels that they're setting. And they're both, I think, on track to, if they keep scoring points the way that they are, on schedule to get 100 points, both of them. And ultimately, one of them is going to miss out on, the one automatic promotion spot. And I think people, like you've mentioned then, saying how good of a side Chesterfield are. They went through a little bit of a bad spell earlier on in the season, but because the focus has been on those two, they've sort of, gone quietly about their business, and they're going to be right in the mix up until the end of the season. And, it's just one of those things that you put a decent string of results together, and like in the Championship, you put a decent string of results together, you're going to be right in there with a chance of going up.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously Chesterfield, I think they lost 3 in a week. That sort of bad dip that you were talking about after speaking to a couple of Chesterfield guys before the game. But I mean, you're here to talk about Kevin Castro, Ollie, who, of course, has had his loan terminated and has gone back to Albion now. So no longer at Notts County, as we were kind of planning on talking about. But of course, it'll be nice to recap his loan and kind of talk about how it went. But firstly, Ollie, how often did Castro play? And what was his sort of role within the squad? Was he a key man, or was he more of a squad player, would you say?
I think, to put it the way that you've put it, I think it's a squad player. If my maths is correct, it was 14 appearances that he made in the league, and 4 were starts. I think many have seen on his first start for the club that unbelievable free kick that he scored against York City, which has gained a lot of traction on social media, and that was just a glimpse of the quality that he possesses, and that you all know that he has. So as soon as that free kick had gone in, I think he'd played 2 games, substitute appearances. That was the first proper look I got at him. And you can tell he's got the quality to play higher in the leagues. But it was just a case of, trying to string a run of consecutive starts together for him. And unfortunately for him, it didn't really happen. He was sort of limited to substitute appearances. But then towards the end of his time at Notts, I think he started 3 games in a row and, scored in 2 of them. I think the stats are he started 4 and scored in 3 of his 4 starts. So it was difficult, but you've got players in that position. He was playing in sort of the attacking midfield role. But you've got a player of Ruben Rodriguez's quality, who many of the National League followers will know he's arguably one of the best players in the league, if not the best player in the league. So to try and, maneuver himself ahead of him was going to, take something really special. And it just didn't quite materialise for him, because Rodriguez has been influential in lots of success this season. And Castro just found it difficult to sort of make his way into that side. But every time he came on, I thought that he was looking to impact the game. He offered not something different going forward. Obviously with his, obvious physical presence and his size. It offered not normally tend to play possession branded football and looking to feed in towards Macaulay Langstaff and Kedwin Scott. But say if the game wasn't going their way, they'd look to bring on Castro as that little bit of height to bring the ball down, keep possession high up the pitch and push everyone forward. I'm not sure whether his free kick ability has been on show for the West Brom fans to see, but on a number of occasions when he was with Notts, some of the deliveries and some of the efforts that he had on target was, mind-blowing. It was ridiculous. Like the technique, and everything, and the way it sort of caused confusion amongst the opposition is a real attribute. And I think that could be an asset to, another side, whether he decides to move on loan for the second part of the season or whether he decides to make his way into Carlos Corberan's plans. But I think the overriding feeling of the fans is that they were disappointed not to have extended the loan. But if that's down to him, then you have to respect that, because if he feels that his ability is perhaps better higher up, then full credit to him, because I've spoken to him a number of times, and he's a really genuine, nice character. Wants to talk to you, and I truly believe that given his spell at Notts, he can really go on and make an impact in the Championship for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting because obviously you said about that kind of technique and the shooting technique and the kind of confidence to try those long shots, those free kicks. I mean, it's something that we've seen a little bit at under 23 level and under 21 level for Albion. I think he's quite a knuckleball specialist, to be fair, with quite a few of them. He just likes to blast them from about 30 yards out, and a couple of them have gone kind of in the bottom corner for Albion's under 23s. Is this something that he was kind of always giving it a go? Has he kind of got that kind of, from what you've seen, that confidence to try those sorts of efforts from outside the area?
Yeah, I agree. It takes a lot to get Ruben Rodriguez off free kicks, because he's sort of the set piece specialist, and he's the one that takes a lot of the free kicks. And I remember when he stood over that ball at York, and it was the first time that I'd seen him, take a set piece. I thought the way he was shaping up, I thought this could either go into row Z, or it could end up being an absolute, worldie. And I think since that moment, it's sort of been in the back of, his mind as well as Ruben's mind that, he might not be the one, Ruben might not be the one to take the set pieces. And that did kind of happen when Castro was introduced or was starting. He would be the one that would take over the responsibility of the set pieces. So yeah, I agree with that. I think that he's, his capabilities from set piece situations are something that could possibly benefit West Brom going forward. It was certainly a benefit for us, and it was an avenue that we looked to try and utilize when it was possible. But it just wasn't as often as what he maybe would have liked.
Yeah, and in terms of, like, obviously we've mentioned the long shots, we've mentioned the free kicks, which are obvious, strengths, and definitely confidence. I think is a big thing for him as well, because he seems to, as you said, always want to kind of drive those attacks. What other kind of main strengths did you find during his time with the Magpies?
I think for his physical size, he was quite nippy with his feet. He kept the ball well and maintained possession, which is something that was obviously resulted in him signing for the Magpies because
Yeah.
That's what Luke Williams likes to play. He likes to play that possession brand of football. He likes to create different passing avenues in the final third of the pitch.
Yeah.
And I feel like he must have seen something there that interested him and wanted him to explore what he wanted to do with him. So yeah, I think that was one of his one of the more surprising strengths to me, given his size. I think he's about 6'2",
Yeah.
6'2", 6'3". So that was something that surprised me. His link-up play, to say how long he was with the club, obviously coming in late.
Yeah.
His link-up play with the forward players was something to be admired as well. To be honest, I thought that he linked the play up quite well. But then on some occasions, he sort of, when he was introduced, sometimes fluttered out of games a little bit, was involved in some parts, and then was often like quiet for 5 or 10 minutes or so. But he was more of a plus than a negative for Notts, most certainly.
Yeah, I mean, another thing that maybe was a little bit of a concern when I saw that he was going to Notts County is his attitude, actually, because I believe at Burton Albion there were some problems earlier in the season before he joined the Magpies. Is that something that's ever kind of cropped up in your conversations with the manager, or has he been a good boy, I suppose, at Notts County?
No, that was picked up on when it was announced that he was joining the club. But I think Luke Williams at the helm. I remember speaking to him at the start of the season about one of the signings Toby Adebayo rolling, and he sort of alluded to his attitude towards training and stuff like that, and it happened with Joel Taylor as well, who's just gone back on loan to Dagenham and Redbridge. It was one of those things that was questioned, but he's been nothing but exemplary, and has worked hard, and whenever he's gotten that opportunity, he's taken it with both hands. Unfortunately for him, it's not been that often, so I was surprised. I would have thought that he'd have been involved a lot more than what he was, but I think that's just down to the quality of the side that Notts are at this moment in time. They've got so many options in that same role. They've got Ruben, obviously, as I've mentioned previously, Sam Austin, who joined from Kidderminster Harriers in the summer as well. So it was difficult to try and get him into that squad. And I understand that the concerns that were there about his attitude, because it seemed to end a bit sour at Burton, which did surprise me when having met him and spoken to him. But then you don't know what goes on behind the scenes there. But Luke has never had a bad word to say about him. He's very complimentary about what he offers to his team. So I feel as though like his attitude was never a problem when he was at Meadow Lane. So that's credit to him and credit to the gaffer as well, because Luke has mentioned previously that attitudes of some players may not have been what he wanted, but I think that proves about his man management skills as well as being a manager.
Yeah, well, it sounds like Luke Williams kind of kicked him back into line and got his attitude sorted out, which is brilliant for Albion and indeed wherever he might end up next if he does end up going out on loan again this season. Obviously, we touched on this, but it seems as if the loan was kind of ended at his own kind of volition. As you mentioned there, he wasn't really being the first pick in that attacking midfield role, which is what he would probably like. I mean, he's a very ambitious player. I remember in his first sort of interview for the club, he was kind of on about wanting to play in the Premier League, wanting to play at the top level. In terms of what you saw from him at Notts County, finally, Ollie, do you think he's got the ability to kind of maybe step up and have a league loan, or do you think maybe the National League is probably where he's best to ply his trade and as a starting attacking midfielder, maybe?
I think the lack of opportunities in the starting lineup is something that will have played a role in his eventual decision to leave, and you try and get more first team football. He does have unquestionable amounts of ability, as we've seen over the course of his loan period with the club, and I think that the lack of opportunities has played a massive part in him wanting to test himself at a higher level. The National League is miles apart from the Championship in terms of the quality and stuff like that, and it's a completely different game of football. I'm not discrediting the National League because there's some quality sides in there, and it's a completely different way of looking at the game. The higher you go up the leagues, like you can see that from the Premier League right down to League Two, it's completely different. So the National League, it was a good stepping stone for him. It's given him a platform to showcase his talents, and that's obviously been apparent with some of the performances and goals that he scored and the obvious traction it's got. I feel like a loan move will be on the cards because I believe his contract's up in the summer.
Yeah, that's right.
So I believe that it's trying to find what he's really all about. He's not really had that experience before this season in terms of regular first team football.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a good test of his character and his quality coming down to the National League. And I believe that they'll have a look. Carlos will have a look at him and see what he likes about him. Whether he breaks into that first team is still yet to be seen. But if that doesn't work out, I can assure you that there'll be a long line of suitors that want to add him to their team because he offers so much, both in and out of possession. So I wish him nothing but the best because he was an absolute gentleman when he was there, and I believe that he would go on and have a really, really good career, whether that's with West Brom or whether that's elsewhere.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see if he can break in because obviously Tom Rogic and John Swift are two big name options in the Championship, just ahead of him in the pecking order. But as you said, we'll see what Corberán thinks of him. But Ollie, thank you so much for joining me to talk about Kevin Castro. It's been really great to get your insight on him. Where can our listeners find out more from you and hear more from you?
So I'm the Nottingham Post writer, obviously. So if you want to check out any stuff on Notts County and how they're doing in the league this season, then all of that's available on the Nottingham Post website. My Twitter handle is at OGGIVER. I won't go into the details about why it's that. It's a long-standing thing and it would take too much of your time. But yeah, that's all on there. And then at Notts County Live as well on Twitter. That's where all the reaction, match updates, live blogs, reaction, everything. That's where everything is. And yeah, hopefully if you want to follow, you'll be following a potential title-winning promotion season. And yeah, that's it.
Brilliant. Hopefully we can see a title win for Notts County. But Ollie King from the Nottingham Post, thank you very much, mate.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much to Ollie King from the Nottingham Post for getting in touch and talking to us about Kevin Castro. Really insightful chat that was. Great to learn a bit more about how he's been getting on, Kevin Castro, and what he could kind of bring to Albion should he stay in the first team and not go out on loan for the rest of the season. But as mentioned, his contract is up at the end of the season, so it'd be interesting to see what happens with that one. But yeah, thanks again to Ollie for joining us. Drop him a follow on Twitter down in the description. Check out his work on the Nottingham Post. Make sure you subscribe to us here on the Baggies Podcast YouTube channel for more loan watches like this. We're hoping to get a couple more done over the next couple of weeks. So thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Comment your thoughts below and goodbye.